thank you. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. Ralph, thanks for the very kind introduction as well. It's great to be at the Faith and Freedom Coalition. These are momentous times in our nation's history. Not only do we have a presidential election ahead of us, but we are in the middle in the United States Senate of a Supreme Court confirmation. Now, you may have heard earlier this year that President Trump included me on his short list of future Supreme Court justices. Well, I have to tell you, I was just as surprised as anyone else. You know, he called me and he said, Tom, my staff tells me that they're going to put you on this list, but it's like he's got a great job in the Senate. Why would he give it up? So Tom, I'm only going to put you on this list if you promise not to take it. And I said, Mr. President, I'm only going to be on the list if you promise not to offer it. Now, because it is true that I was once a lawyer, but I've been clean for 15 years, and I cannot risk a relapse. You know, yesterday before we adjourned for the week, I had the privilege of meeting Judge Amy Coney Barrett, and we had a great conversation. I won't reveal anything we discussed. I will simply say that we both agreed that we're glad the president picked her and not me. Because she truly is an outstanding choice. She will be a great Supreme Court justice. Unfortunately, though, we've already seen the kind of attacks that the left launched against Justice Kavanaugh, launched against Judge Barrett. Many liberal Democrats are criticizing her for belonging to a prayer group, a fellowship group. You may have seen that Dick Durbin, the number 2 senator in the United States Senate, asked her at her last hearing, are you an Orthodox Catholic? I don't know what that means, except maybe that she actually believes her faith, as opposed to just wear it on her sleeve for political purposes, like so many politicians do. Of course, the most infamous and notorious attack came from Dianne Feinstein, the number 1 senator on the Judiciary Committee, who said, the dogma lives loudly inside you. I don't know about you, but I've never heard dogma used in a positive way. However, I want to suggest that if you simply substitute one word, it does have a very positive meaning. The faith lives loudly inside you. And throughout our country's history, men and women who had the faith live loudly inside them have made the difference for freedom. From the Pilgrims who landed at Plymouth Rock to our founding fathers in 1776, who sought the protection of a divine providence as they declared our independence. To the millions of men and women who have served this country in uniform and laid down their lives to defend it. The faith lived loudly in all of them, and they made the difference for this nation. And I'll tell you one short story that shows you the kind of heroism that's possible when the faith lives loudly inside you. As I mentioned, I do have a big skeleton in my closet that I was a lawyer once, but I did go clean by joining the Army. And as Ralph mentioned, after I got back from Iraq with the 101st Airborne, I was assigned to the Old Guard at Arlington National Cemetery. And a true honor, a solemn honor. And when you work with the Old Guard, you go through every corner of Arlington, not just some of the most popular sites. And you see amazing stories of soldiers. There's a place in Arlington called Chaplains Hill, where chaplains who died in the line of duty or after a career of service are laid to rest. And there's memorials for other chaplains as well. There's one there for something called the 4 Chaplains. There were 2 Protestant ministers, a Catholic priest, and a rabbi. It sounds like the opening to a joke, I know. But it's not a joke, and it's real, and it really happened. They're also better known as the Immortal Chaplains. These 4 chaplains were on a troop transport in February of 1943, bound for Greenland with a couple thousand other American soldiers, when it was torpedoed by a German submarine. Tragically, there wasn't enough life vests or rafts for the troops that were on that ship. And these chaplains willingly and voluntarily took their life vests off and gave them to 4 young soldiers. And as that ship slid into the frigid North Atlantic waters, many soldiers later testified that those 4 chaplains spent their last moments ministering to the other scared young soldiers. And then they heard in English, in Latin, and in Hebrew prayers as those 4 chaplains held hands and locked arms, praying over their fellow soldiers. That's what's possible when the faith lives loudly in you. Those chaplains, like so many other Americans, engaged in the ultimate sacrifice. John 15:13, greater love hath no man than this, that he lay down his life for another. Now, fortunately, not many are called to make that kind of sacrifice. But we can all be called to let the faith live loudly inside us and in our works. And we need more Americans for whom the faith lives loudly in them. And guess what? The Supreme Court is about to have another one. And that means we'll have finally a majority on the Supreme Court that recognizes the way you choose to worship our Lord is not a benevolent gift from an omnipotent government. It is a gift from a benevolent God himself. And it is written onto the heart of man, and no secular authority can change that. We will have a Supreme Court that respects and protects your right of religious freedom. But you know, it's not just the courts. We need to elect more people who have the faith living loudly in them. If we elected more people like that, we wouldn't have so many of these legal cases in the first place. We wouldn't have a Congress in Obamacare forcing nuns to pay for birth control. We wouldn't have states that force teenage girls to compete against boys in sports. And we wouldn't have governors and mayors who treat liquor stores and marijuana dispensaries and casinos and abortion clinics as essential services during this pandemic, yet won't let churches open their doors. We wouldn't have pastors being arrested for holding outdoor services while mayors are marching with radical left-wing protesters in the streets. But you know, it's not just challenges that we face in politics. Look, we've got a lot of challenges in our businesses and our culture as well. You know, here in Georgia, Disney, the most powerful movie studio in the world, threatened to boycott making movies in Georgia because of Georgia's pro-life laws. Yet they just, in their latest release, Mulan, they just celebrated and thanked the Chinese Communist Party for their help filming movies in a territory where they sterilize religious minorities, force women to have abortions. You have Disney, a company that wants to boycott its fellow Americans for protecting innocent unborn lives while they thank and celebrate godless communists in China. You have other blue chip companies, Fortune 500 companies, that give millions of dollars to the radical Black Lives Matter organization. Go to their website and look what their agenda is. Not an aspirational statement, their actual stated agenda. It says they want to defund the police. They want to boycott Israel. They want to abolish the family. And you have a secular, hostile media that cheers and celebrates it all along. Those are some of the challenges that we face as people with the faith living loudly inside of us. But the one thing this radical secular elite does not have is control of our government. From the White House and Congress to the State House to the courthouse, they don't have control, at least not yet. It's the one place where you still have a strong and a loud voice in America. Let's not sacrifice that voice this November. Let's get out and let's vote and let's re-elect people who will protect and advance your greatest and noblest aspirations. Let's make sure that we hold the White House and the Congress and that you elect more men and women for whom the faith lives loudly in them, in your states and in your communities. Let's show the world what's possible when the faith lives loudly inside all of us. Thank you all. God bless you, and God bless America.